Now, moving on to our next panel discussion, empowering India's BFSI sector, leveraging smart data, advanced analytics, and artificial intelligence, and evolution of RPA and AI in banking. For this, I would like to welcome Mr. Ayande, Chief Technology Officer, Exide Life Insurance, Sankaranarayanan Raghavan, Chief Technology and Data Officer, IndiaFirst Life Insurance, Abhishek Vishwakarma, Director Business Intelligence and Risk Solutions, CRISIL Limited, Girish Parpillewar, VP and Head Digital Initiatives, State Bank of Mauritius, Mr. Anil Kuril, General Manager IT, Union Bank of India, Mr. Abhay Johorey, Head Digital Strategy, ICICI Bank, and Mr. Anuj Mittal, Specialist Sales, Leading Emerging Portfolio Enterprise Business, Red Hat India. A very warm welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us today. Mr. Ayande, Chief Technology Officer, Exide Life Insurance, will be moderating this session. Over to you, sir. Looking forward to an insightful panel session.
Thank you, Pratishtha. And hello and welcome to this very interesting panel discussion on all the matters that we just discussed. I am Ayan from Exide Life Insurance, and I will be your moderator for this round of discussion today. I'm thrilled to have with us some of the technology captains who have charted their own unique paths of success, and they have been the thought leaders in their own respective domains. Welcome to the discussion, gentlemen. In the quest for growth, I always felt BFSI organizations in India are constantly refining the way they gather business intelligence from data that they have from their customers and the overall market ecosystem in which they operate. With the digital transformation now put on the fast track, financial companies are clearly taking technology choices in either or both of the two cutting-edge technology camps. One being the robotic process automation, which we know as RPA, and artificial intelligence, which is well known as AI. Let me start with Abhay. Abhay, the ICICI group in general and the bank in particular has been at the forefront of the digital transformation journey. In fact, you have been setting the benchmark for the industry for many, many years now. Now, with the pandemic setting in the last 2 years, like everyone else, ICICI Bank also took it up as an opportunity to accelerate its transformation journey. Yet, after having crossed that bridge now, how do you see automation growing into the future for the financial industry in a way that it works? Abhay?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. So, as they say, chance always favors the prepared mind. We didn't start automating when the pandemic hit us. Like you said, we've had a legacy of actually deploying technology for our customers for the longest possible time. Yeah. What the pandemic's done is obviously accelerate, the usage of the entire set. So, yeah, we were well prepared for that. But, if I were to just shift back, foundationally, none of the businesses today are playing the game that we used to. Yeah. And it's not us. Actually, the world has changed. Yeah. So things that used to differentiate any company, not just banks in the past, economies of scale, distribution strength, brand, are far less potent than they used to be. And the reason for that is the technology is, fundamentally changed two things. Yeah. One is that the dynamics of the market in which we operated, and also the speed that we need to remain competitive. Yeah. And let me just talk about the dynamics of the market. Yeah. Our customers are digital, our channels are digital, and our competition is digital. Yeah. These are the three constituents of the markets, and that's changed. Yeah. Digital's also changed the way, we operate. Our products are digital, and more so in banking. Our insights, that we apply, whether it's credit underwriting or risk or fraud control, or just better marketing, are also digital. Our employees foundationally, when they're working from home, are fully digital. And the business operations, in banking again, all of us started on automation way back. So our operations are also digital. Yeah. So digital has changed the markets, and digital's also changed the way we were all operating in the past. Yeah. So now foundationally, therefore, automation is an imperative. Yeah. It's not something, that was decent, and good to do thing. Yeah. Also, what's happened is the capabilities that are available for automation are now a dimension different from what they used to be, let's say about 3 years back. Yeah. 3 years back, it was not really such a smart thing to get onto the cloud. Your machine learning models and classifier models weren't as developed. Now you have both of that. So what that foundationally means is you can now have a step change in automation. And what automation does is, it's a classic case of where you're getting more for less. More in the sense of more efficiency, more productivity, more accuracy, more time slots that are available. You can clearly operate 24 into 7. For less is, a same agent augmented with automation abilities can actually do a lot more. A relationship manager augmented, with insights about the customer can sell far more effectively. So I would say automation is not one of those nice to do things. I think it's a must do thing. And the time has now come where it can be exploited extremely on a cost efficient basis.
Thank you, Abhay. Thank you. That was an excellent point to start with, in fact. And I really like the way you put it across that, all the three C's basically, the company, the customers, the competition, everyone has actually now adopted digital. And that is the way to go. Uh, let me now move to the other part of the industry. Now, which is a very, very interesting area where, one that does the benchmarking and rating as its primary function. Abhishek, data crunching, data analytics, predictive assessment, data modeling is the core activity for rating agencies like you. To what extent does your vertical believe in the power of AI for future? Do you feel that there are other technology alternatives which can be labeled as truly transformational?
So, if you ask me whether AI is the transformation technology, then yes, it is definitely going to be one of the things that is going to lead the way in terms of digital transformation, specifically in the area of work that I do, right? But I see a combination of AI, ML, and DS to go hand in hand to look at analytics as a space itself, right? So, with the advent of a lot of data which is available on companies today, like MCA data, EPFO data, GST data, and so on and so forth, and components like account aggregator coming into play, and Open being active in the Indian market. There is a lot amount of data that is coming in. The only thing that is remaining, or what we companies like us was doing, is to kind of look at all this information that is available on a particular corporate or on a particular company, and then triangulate and find out whether this guy is going to be a good borrower or a bad borrower. And this is the space where we actually help banks actually prevent fraud, build early warning systems, and then look at digital technologies from stopping fraud rather than letting it happen, and then trying to do post-mortem out of it. If I would extend this concept a little bit further, so obviously RPA is another technology that we kind of are heavily looking at, extracting information from financial statements that are shared on the public sources, so that we can bring the cost of operations down. That's another area which we feel that's going to be very attractive. From a digital technology standpoint, I think what we are also looking at, and these are some of the use cases that is happening in the market as we speak, is uses of aerial imagery for crops, and to find out whether what is going to be the price point at which the crops are going to get sold, and then using that information to kind of find out whether the borrower is good, or which is a farmer in this case, is a good borrower or bad borrower, and the money is going to come back or not. So that's another area which we feel is going to be a very highly invested area, and IoT and advanced analytics has a role to play in that space. So you could actually combine the weather information, the soil quality, the leaf width that is there from a crop standpoint, and then create a crop growth model to figure out whether there is an output that is going to be in line with what was expected, what is the farm gate prices historically, and what is the macro and economic parameters that are there as we speak in that time zone, and then figure out what is the output that the farmer is going to get, and then what is the amount of loan that he's expecting. So these are some of the areas which I feel from a analytics standpoint we will definitely see use cases come up in the near future.
Excellent, Abhishek. I just would also like to extend this point further. You mentioned that along with artificial intelligence, there are some more technologies, which are coming up. You gave an excellent use case, especially from the farms. Do you think that there is any other very, very strong taker, a very, very strong technology out there, which is going to be a marquee technology in future, and which possibly will work with AI hand in hand and truly make BFSI, run through this entire digital transformation. Do you think there is something else also, other than AI, which has that kind of a presence in the future horizon?
Yeah, I think IoT is one technology which I am at least very bullish about, because whether it is counting the inventory in a particular manufacturing setup, or looking at what is the crop, I mean, using the crop example that I gave earlier, you need some real-time data to be flowing in from those areas back to the credit model that the bank runs, right? And in real time. So if there is a shortage of inventory, or if there is a crop pattern which is changing, the banker would need to know whether there is a difference in what he had estimated from an output standpoint. And then instead of doing a postmortem of it when the fraud has already happened, or the loan has gone bad, you actually will be able to figure out, okay, there's something that I can change right now, or ask my money back, so that at least I don't incur losses. So I think apart from AI and ML and DS, I think IoT is another area which is very prominent from a future standpoint.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Abhishek. I mean, that definitely brings the focus back on some of these critical technologies, which will possibly lead the entire transformation for the BFSI segment in future. Having now spoken to the stalwarts from the financial industry, let me now bring in an IT industry specialist, Anuj. I would like to bring you in here, and I would like to hear your voice from the tech industry. What is your take on the overall future of AI? And we would also like to understand that, how does an organization like Red Hat is planning to take this forward? Anuj?
I am very interesting question. Let me talk about some of the patterns what we are seeing. So AI is no more a tool which the scientists used to do in offline. You crunch the data, you come up with something that what has happened last month. Today, what the BFSI, and not only BFSI, what any industry want is a live AIML. If something is happening today, how do I take an immediate action on top of it right now, right? So what do you need in order to achieve it? You need to have a connected data pipeline. So connected data pipeline is something, you're consuming a lot of data today. You're consuming data from digital, you're consuming data from your transactions, you're consuming data from your social. You need to bring all of this data via a wonderfully created pipeline which sucks all the data from all different sources. And you need to be able to run the business models, your AI models continuously on top of this data. Once there is a finding, from this data point, you need to be able to take dynamic decisions on the fly. So I agree with Abhishek. So it's basically the live decisions which you need to take. So some of these examples and patterns which we are seeing, and very interesting point about AIML, right? The amount of data which possibly would have been collected in a company last 10 years. Now we are sitting at a point that the same amount of data will be start collecting year on year. Now that's a huge amount of data what we are talking about. Now, can you fit more and more silicon in a single box? The answer is no. So ultimately, you will have to start distributing this data on a cluster of machines. This is where the big data comes into the picture and plays a significant role. So what I believe, AI is not a buzzword anymore. It's going to stay, and AI in combination with analytics and big data is going to solve a lot of problem in the BFSI industry.
Excellent, Anuj. Thank you. Thank you for that opening comment. And I was noting, the various ways you were looking at data points. And from my experience as well, I have seen that, it is now imperative that data is now sliced down into typical transactional data which you used to gather over the years. Then we had the demographic data coming in. Now we have the behavioral data as well coming in. Plus, on top of that, the social data is as well, being harvested. So do you think that Red Hat is actually actively planning to use big data as a concept for bringing out more interesting products for the BFSI segment in future?
So basically, if you see what do we need today in the BFSI industry is agility. And Kubernetes is one of the proven platform which can scale to petabytes. And that is a platform which we have adopted as one of the most strategic, solution. So we what we do, we bring the power of OpenSec. We harness the power of open source and we bring a very stable Kubernetes platform called OpenShift in order to, solve your big data problems. The same platform, the one thing which I feel is very, very important is like portability, right? Today, imagine that you're running in your private data center, and all of a sudden there is a huge amount of buzz you're expecting during Christmas, during Big Billion Sale, during any event, which can grow your transaction base by 3 to 4x to 5x. If your workload is not portable, how are you gonna go to the public cloud and consume some of these things dynamically? So what Red Hat brings, open source proven and tested model, which can extend from your private data centers to public data centers, and can give you the same glue, the same component which has been tested over a period of a long number of years.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Anuj. Thank you. Let me now move to a part of industry to which I belong to, and I have my friend Sankaranarayanan, who also is a part of the life industry, and Shankar has been very active, as I am aware, in ensuring that the digital transformation journey is actually adopted, and he has been actually doing it for a couple of seasons now very actively, and he's one of the leaders in the space today. So Shankar, I will start with the same question with you as well. That how do you see automation growing in the future for the financial industry? I mean, in a way that it is adopted, it is applied, it is practical, and it is sustainable. Shankar?
Thanks, Sayan, for the kind words. I really appreciate. So I think Abhay set the tone, and you started off with the input, and Abhay set the tone, and Abhishek and Anuj followed with the inputs, correct? And that's what it is now today. For example, the customers today, customer competitors, everyone, marketplace expects everything to be digital, where it's available, it is instant, correct, and it is convenient. So this is what people are looking for, and that sets the stage for what is the thing has to be. So if you look at it, the technology is the first key pillar, which one needs to look at it. What kind of technology, what I'm going to adapt. It has to be open source. What kind of, how I can extend, how I can scale it. Elasticity, how I can look at it. So that's what it is. Along with the cloud strategy, it's one of the first pillar. The second pillar, what I think of is that clearly we had a lot of inputs coming in from Abhishek and Anuj about IoT, AML, DL, all those things, correct? So that's the second pillar, where what is the data science strategy going to be, correct? And the data strategy. How and all the data, we collect a lot of data from various places, but some of them remain in some documents, and then we don't use the data. There are some behavioral data which also comes from various marketplaces. How are we going to utilize that, harness that, and then use it for example, customers are looking at, I don't want to fill up many forms or many input today. I just want to give maybe my mobile number and various other PAN or one or two inputs is what I want to give. But rest of the things, they expect us to harness it from various places and then use it and to arrive at a right decision, so that they get the convenience, and we also assess the risk properly, correct? That is what the expectation is. So data strategy becomes a very important third pillar too. And then the last pillar is people. People is important. People are important because we need to have the right people who can help in executing these three strategies. These are the four pillars what I look at in the digital transformation. But being in a BFSI, correct, the startups have come and disrupted the whole way of doing business, whatever. But BFSI, what we have is the legacy. We have a lot of legacy systems, but now we are working with various startups and various marketplaces entities, which are completely handling things in a digital way. So I look at maybe a series of 6 layers of future thing. Maybe this is the current thing, it's not a future thing. First is system of engagement. What are the system of engagement I'm going to have? The customers are varied, and the interests are varied. So there's some may be looking to interact with us through web, some may be interested to looking through maybe mail, some may be interested to mobile and chat. Voice is one thing, correct? I don't want to even type, or I just want to do something on voice, correct? Even the form filling, I want to do it through voice. So the system of engagement is something which is getting broadened. We can't have like only a few things. We need to, for all we have to cater to various segments of customer, we need to have a system of engagements. We need to identify what are the system of engagements going to be. The next is, since the system of engagements are varied, we need to have how my interaction, how I'm going to have a view of the customer at a 360 degree. For example, somebody has come into the chat and he has left something, and his query is not completely attended to, but he calls my call center. Then the call center should be able to understand, okay, this is where he has ended, and this is where we are not able to attend to his input. So then pick it up from there, and then to take it to closure. So that's something which is very important, because the integration and the customer experience is very important. That's the second layer which one needs to look at it. The third and key important layer which others spoke about is about the data analytics. We are getting a lot of data. How are we harnessing it to use it to arrive at the right aspect of it? Whether, for example, when somebody is entering, when I'm getting some data in insurance, I should be able to understand whether this guy is going to be persistent with me for long, or whether is there a possibility of claim which can happen. I have a lot of data which I have, and I should be able to use it, and I should be able to use the data of the customer and able to understand certain things on the fly, correct? That's why the customer data analytics is the third layer in terms of sequence which comes in. The fourth layer is all about, I'm doing a lot of things in the front end, but if it doesn't talk to the back end in a proper way, and if it is not properly automated, then it's not something which is going to give the right experience. So you mentioned about, I mentioned about the RPA. So we need to have a process automation layer, which is going to help in making sure that the experience remains intact. The last fifth layer is all about the system of records, correct? What we call system of records, the core processing engines or core systems we talk about. That's the last layer. That's the backend, which is the fifth layer. But that is anyway, it is given, it is there. And the sixth layer is all about regulatory reporting. BFSI, as you know, is highly regulated. So from that perspective, what we need to have is that we need to have a layer wherein we are able to understand that yes, we are compliant and we are able to operate things in the right way, and also we are able to churn out all the inputs which are all going to be in the regulator. So I think what is needed for any organization which is currently operating alongside the digital world, the marketplace, they need to have the 4 strategies and also the 6 layers, which is going to help them to be competitive in this market.
Excellent opening point, Shankar. Thank you for actually, encapsulating the entire, I would say, insurance industry in those 6 digital layers that you have just explained, and they have been very cogently presented. Thank you once again. I understand from where you have been coming from, the front end, the middle layer, the back end, the entire data piece, then handling the reporting, as well as being on the right side of the regulations, naturally, because BFSI is a highly regulated industry. So, Shankar, just a leading question to this, that do you feel that some of these things are actually now, prepping us up for future? There are certain things which we are only seeing the tip of the iceberg right now, and there are certain use cases which are just, just beyond the corner at this point, which will manifest themselves as we move ahead in future.
I think yes, we may be at the we will be seeing the tip of the iceberg, but certain things are changing a lot, correct? Alongside the digital world, for example, body mass index, BMI, which we call, to understand maybe from the height and weight to underwrite a risk of a life insurance, correct? So somebody has to give me height and weight for me to calculate and what it is, and for me to do that. Now, what I do is that maybe I use an AI, and then I use this, for example, I image a live photograph of him, and to arrive at what is the BMI is going to be. So I'm going to just cut various things, correct? I don't need to worry about whether he has given the right input for me to underwrite or not. I have some inputs which are available with which I can use it. So likewise, various things are even on the medical, correct? So there are various digital things which are all there today. For example, people are using for managing their health aspect on the sugar or ECG, which is available in Apple Watch and various other things. If at all I'm going to, what we do currently is we do a medical test to arrive at various aspects. But if I'm going to give them a patch, if they are going to wear it for a few seconds, if I'm able to get all these inputs digitally, then that is something which I can use it. And so some of these things are currently happening. When I say it is in maybe R&D kind of thing, which adaptation will happen in some time. But from the convenience perspective, from the speed perspective, I think these are all imminent. We don't have any other option than to adapt, and how we are going to be adapting faster than so that we can stay in the competition, and then we can serve the customer better. I think yes, times are going to be very exciting and interesting too.
Thank you, Shankar, for rounding that up very well. Now let me bring the focus back on the banking industry, and I will now talk about what I personally call a startup bank. And as I was reading recently, that if today you throw a stone in the fintech space, then probably you will hit someone who has partnered with the SBM Bank. In fact, I remember few like Slice have already gone on to become unicorns. So let me bring in Girish here for his views on all the footprints on the digital sand that he has been making with all these rich association with the fintechs. How are you, Girish, using big data, advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science to understand and cater to the needs of your customers? Girish?
Hi, thank you, Aya. Before you delve into it, right, there were two, three key points what we realized, right, when we started our venture in being a retail bank, right. We had our predecessors like ICICI Bank, HDFC setting superb customer experience, customer expectations. So we've had to match that, right. We can't come out with which is something inferior in this nature. And always what we realize that if we pick up something which is not thought through or is not strategically designed, then it's a recipe for disaster, right? That's what we realize. And since it's been about 3 years what we've been operational, first 6 months went in getting the right set of capabilities, right set of people. But then we realized that if I have to do everything on myself, it's going to take ages to be a stage where I really start competing in the market, right? This is a very competitive world, and customers' attention span is very limited, right? And one learned person who told me that you are starting a bank, right? So why are you running it like a bank, right? He made one statement which stuck us, saying that people need banking, they don't need banks, right? And that stuck us like a lightning, and we realized this is it, this is what is our motto. And that's where our trip to start engaging with fintech partners, that I don't have to manufacture everything on myself, right? There are people who are doing it, there are people who are doing it fantastically well, and instead of competing with them, why don't we collaborate with them, come on a middle ground which is win-win for both of us and also adds value to the customer. And that's where we started this journey of all fintech arrangements, right? While I'm sure it's not now a common knowledge that we have some 30 odd 35 odd fintechs, but it's spread across the wagon wheel. If you see that we've delved into every possible product what we have, right? But it also came out pose a lot of challenge to us in terms of, are we onboarding right set of customers, right? And that's where the Abhishek made a point that while the technology is available, data is available, and even if government database is being opened up, there is too much of information available, right? How do we use it to ensure that I prevent antisocial elements by piggybacking this banking channel, right? While we are doing a digital onboarding, there are a lot of chances that we have an antisocial elements coming into picture, and that's being a foundation stone, right? What we have done is we've implemented RPA, right? Through RPA today, 100% of our outward remittances are processed through RPA. There is no manual intervention. Right? Through those RPAs, we realize that there is a lot of learnings, a lot of data points which are anyway available, right? And what Shankar referred to, that if I get one data element from a customer, can I fetch his entire 360-degree view? And that's what we worked upon. We have all our processes in place, saying that if you give me your PAN number today, I can straight away onboard you as my customer. And those are real life journeys, what you said, what we have done with Slice Uni, right? And in that, and what we realized that there is a very limited attention span customer is going to give me, right? He's not going to wait 24 hours, 44 or 48 hours to get the product, right? Today, the industry has moved on to an instant gratification, right? So we started working on state of the art, right? But state of art, not at a cost of state of compliance, was something which as a banker we need to be very conscious, and we've been very conscious about it. So in that split of minute, right? In a minute today you get a slice card, right? But we have some 24, 25 activities going in the background, collating that data. Within that minute, we sanction a loan, right? Those all are now is a common practices which a lot of fintechs are doing it. We piggyback that, we sanctioning a loan, onboarding a customer, setting that loan in the loan systems, and also issuing a cards to him, real time showed to him, displayed, and is available for usage at the next moment. Right? So this, as also coming to a Shankar's point, where the front end is classy, right? But if it's not in sync with the back end, what is there, is always going to pose a challenge for any entity who's working in this space. So marrying this together, saying that okay, my front end should be in sync with back end, and back end in talking to multiple systems, and there are many small fintech players we've already partnered for helping on getting this decisioning right for us, which probably does not come in forefront because their core task is to work at the back end, like an Sibyl, like an Experian. There are softwares like Experian, Hunter. All these works on the back end, right? They never come in the forefront because those their core nature is to sit at the back, right? So leveraging those capabilities, right, is what we've worked upon in last 2-3 years, and we've here at this stage where you see that if you throw a stone, it will land with someone who's anyway working with SBM. But so far, we feel that we have not even scratched the surface, right? We're way behind in terms of what is required by a customer, right? And expectations are changing every day. So to be in sync with customers' expectation, we also need to evolve, and that's where this machine learning AI is gonna be what do you say, foundation stones, right? Earlier, probably 3-4 years back, these were probably like luxurious systems to have, that okay, I will sanction your loan in 1 hour. Today is no more a luxury, right? It's a need which customer is asking, right? Along with this, customer is also asking two more things from a bank, that this we realized in our focus group discussion, is that help me make wise decisions, help me create wealth, right? And manage my money well, right? That's a personal finance management, which what any customer is expecting, that if I'm keeping money with you, right, manage it well, help me make more money out of it, right? And that's where we see now that AI is very much important, where we will categorize, okay, this segment of customer may not require insurance at this stage, but they are open to invest into a high risk mutual fund. A certain segment of customers evolving depending on their demographics, their details available. The segment can be good for an fixed deposit products, right? And this data are now easily available, right, from their social engagements, from their uh, presence on the data available from multiple sources. We can easily make out now. So that's where now I feel that customers ask is going to be that, okay, you have onboarded me, I have given my money to you, help me make more out of it, right? As long as I'm able to address it through all this AI and machine learning, customer is going to be happy. And if the customer is happy, yes, bank will eventually also figure out a way to make money out of it, right? So because everyone is here to make money out of it, right? So that's our take has been in the last 2-3 years what we work upon.
Thank you, Girish. That was excellent, in fact. And I have to swing this question back now to Abhay, because we have just seen that, what a new age bank looks at the market and the expectations, the customer expectations. Abhay belongs to a bank which is from a completely different generation. Of course, I'm not referring to Abhay himself, but yes, the thought process and the ethos with which ICICI would have started initially, and where ICICI is today in the market, they are completely different generations. So, Abhay, how does ICICI Bank typically look at some of these very critical pieces which Girish just mentioned as foundational pieces? Big data, advanced analytics, AI, ML, data science. To what extent is an organization, a behemoth like ICICI, adopting some of these?
Yeah. So it's always a fight between an incumbent who has customers and an insurgent who has ideas, and that's really the clash. And the point really is, do the incumbents get ideas and innovation faster than the insurgents can actually get customers? Yeah. So I think the incumbents have done reasonably well. I mean, I look at all the peers of the private banks and some of the public sector banks as well. they have responded, to the digital challenge. In fact, I would go as far as to say that we've led it. Yeah. So whether it's been fintech partnerships or deploying machine learning, or actually just being more agile in responding faster to changing requirements, I think banks like ICICI have led the front. Yeah. Now, having said that, I think all our discussions has largely been an inside out. Yeah. What are the kind of operational capabilities do companies, banks, and insurance companies need to acquire? So whether it's partnerships with fintech for innovation, or prioritizing agility and flexibility, or actually deploying new capabilities like machine learnings or RPAs, I think we're missing out one very foundational thing, which is customer centricity. Yeah. And Girish briefly touched upon it, in the sense of personal finance management. The point is financial services are in a fiduciary capability. Yeah. People actually trust us with their money. Yeah. So we don't break things and fix things like fintechs do. Yeah. There has to be a lot of stability with change, which is incumbent, on us. So from a customer centricity point of view, which is what is it that customers want? How can banks be and financial institutions be more trusted, kind of a machine that gives the customers what they want? And putting the customer at the center, which means that, not only is it easy, it is effective, it results in a positive emotion, and highest NPS score and all of those good things. That's there's a lot of technology that focuses on that piece as well. Yeah. So we didn't talk about it during the session, but I think that's extremely important. So whether it's actually devising the right journeys, whether it's actually figuring out the right personas and doing the appropriate set, I think that's as important as an RPA or an ML. Yeah, is do not lose sight of what the customer wants. And if you're a large bank with a large number of customers, it is easy to actually just listen to what customers have to say. It is easy to just delve into data that's been accumulated over the last 20-25 years. Yeah. So to that extent, I think the large banks are in a very, very good position to exploit it. And obviously, the idea is to continue to be flexible and continue to respond. Yeah, I think that's important.
So Abhay, you brought a very interesting point, but let me share from my experience and my point of view. While you guys have a great brand and a great trust which is there in the market, I mean, you're known, you have a great customer base. But on the other side, when I go and meet some of the large bank, they have a legacy system. They have a legacy of last 20 years, 30 years, and they have very monolithic kind of system. Now, if I take an example of SBM, right? SBM had the flexibility to design the newer age services, the newer age system. They can buy the system today, right? Now, but you guys have an established system which is 20 years old. Now that's one of, see, on one side you got a lot of benefit of the brand name, customer base, equity, size of the bank, and your experience into multi different services. On the other side, your challenge is like, how do you become nimble? So what technology company like us, we are trying to say that you would start need to breaking down some of those larger monolithic into a set of microservices. Now let me try to simplify. Everybody says microservice. What is microservice? If you go down to the definition of the simplest logic, that what is my PAN number, what is my say credit score, how many products I have bought, what is my credit card number, every simple question, consider them as a simple microservice. Now let me ask you a question. Why do we need microservices? Right now, idea to production should be a task of less than 90 days. Gone are the days when you can say that in order to launch a process, I'm going to do a 6-month, 9-month long core banking or enterprise resource planning or CRM kind of implementation. So ultimately, in order to find newer avenues for the business, you will have to start reconfiguring the same process and create newer products, newer services. Now, let me give you a very small example from a UK-based startup. So somebody said that, why should a senior citizen above 60 years old should pay the same insurance for their car while they are driving hardly twice in a month to pick up grocery, in comparison to a budding entrepreneur who is 25 years old and who is mostly on the road 8 hours per day. Now, how do you solve that problem, right? So if you want to solve such innovative problem, you will have to start reconfiguring the same set of, ultimately it's the same product, right? It's a car insurance. There is nothing new in the car insurance, right? But you are picking up a new dimension of it. So in order to identify that these are the use cases you should try, how do you reconfigure the same process? You would need to break your monolithic into a set of very, very small and reusable microservices, so you can become more agile, more nimble, and your idea to market should be less than 90 days. So this is, where companies like us come forward and try to help
No,
some.
absolutely, absolutely. And not for a moment am I saying that we don't need microservices. In fact, we pretty much pioneered, the usage of microservices a good, decade back. Close to about 1,000 plus, APIs, microservices were available through API gateways. Our fintech partners use our APIs, our channels use our APIs, our contact center and our branches also use APIs. Yeah. So APIs is actually not such a new thing. I mean, we've been doing it for quite some time. And they are at an atomic level, which means they can be recombined at will. I think the important thing is to just plan which APIs are synchronous, which are asynchronous. The important thing is also to plan as to which actually goes through an enterprise service bus and which goes through an event hub, because we are, especially when you're looking at a data platform, you are looking at a lot of raw streaming data, which you got to respond reasonably fast. So therefore, not only is ICICI Bank looking at just an API gateway, we're also looking at an event hub, we're looking at a data lake. We are also looking at synchronizing all the three sets of channels. So whether it's an assistant channels or like a contact center or a branch, or whether it's a self-service channel like a browser or an app, or an embedded channel, or deal with Amazon on ICICI Bank cards, or a deal with Zomato, those use the same set of APIs. So the APIs are also at an industrial level. And again, for volume handling, we are also looking at, new age patterns which follow CQRS, command query response segregation, and have an internet hourglass kind of an architecture. So this is something that's not new to us. This is something that we've been doing very, very successfully. The important point, and you talked about the legacy stuff. Some of the legacy stuff, especially the mainframe based sets, will continue to be around for some time. I'm talking about ATM switches. I'm talking about Visa and MasterCard networks. Those aren't migrating to a cloud very, very soon. So there will be those elements which are stable and humongously efficient when it comes to large volume handling. But I mean, our systems of engagement, our systems of intelligence, and our systems of orchestration all move on to cloud with APIs and new age patterns. I mean, APIs, can be written very badly and APIs can be written very well. So that's an important distinction as well.
Oh, thank you, Abhay. I mean, in fact, I got logged out because of a power fluctuation, and these are some of the pitfalls of working remote. But I could come back and hear the interesting discussion between Anuj and yourself, and I think in a way we have covered almost everything that we set ourselves out to be. Just before we close, I would rather actually then go for a second pass, and I would request each one of you to actually name out at least the top two things that come to your mind when it comes for digital transformation, keeping an eye on future. So maybe I'll start from the other way around. So possibly we can start with Girish first. So Girish, the top 2 points which come to your mind from a digital transformation, keeping future in mind.
So the first was always going to be customer centricity, right? So what customer demands is what needs to be met to be relevant to him. And the second, as I said, and I'm repeating, right? The state of art does not mean that state of compliance should be compromised, right? So marrying these two together is always going to be a challenge, and which Abhay rightly touched upon, that yes, there are a lot of microservices works upon, and we really appreciate ICICI Bank doing all those things because we keenly follow what they do. So I think, and these two things, I think Abhay will also agree that there is a fine balance to be found out between these two. But these two will continue to remain and will remain there for ages.
Thank you, Girish. Moving on to Shankar. Shankar from the insurance industry. What would be your take on the top two things for future?
I think to me it is one is differentiation. How I'm going to differentiate to my customers with the product being more or less same, correct? So how can I differentiate in terms of whatever I'm doing? That is one thing, and how I'm going to nimble, correct? So because it's fast changing world and new models and new things are coming into picture. So I my architecture, my the way I'm working, everything has to be nimble. So how fast I can adapt. Those are the two key things according to me are important.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Moving on to Abhishek. Abhishek, from your side of the industry, from the the risk and the rating industry, what would be your take on the top two things from a future perspective?
So I think I will just try to extend what Girish was mentioning. I mean, being relevant to the customer is the most important thing from a digital journey standpoint. And how do you be relevant specifically in the industry that I am in is to utilize data, utilize analytics, utilize AI, ML, DS as a technology stack, and make sure that the information that is available to the customer or about a customer is uh, precise and well ahead in time. I think that's the two things that I would talk about in this space.
Excellent, excellent. Coming back to you, Abhay, you have I think you have covered almost everything, but still the
Yeah.
top two in your mind.
Yeah. So I think I'll actually just cover one, and it has six components to it, and that is leadership. Yeah. I mean, again, we talked about empathy and we talked about inside out. I would say what really, classifies it and, sets it up for success is leadership. Yeah. So starts with vision. Yeah. Does the top leadership champion and prioritize digital? Yeah. I think that's very important. The second one is the data-driven approach. Are your decisions driven by data, or are you continue to rely on gut? Yeah. The next one is, and I mentioned it, customer empathy is your decisions have to be grounded in customers' needs and insights that you glean from the data. Yeah. And then there is a design differential. Is your UX, is your UI sophisticated, and aesthetic? Is it being used as a competitive advantage? And then is agility and iteration. Are your ways of working flexible? Do you do test and learn? Yeah. And finally, innovation, which is your risk taking and long-term thinking rewarded? Yeah. So you can have all the RPAs, you can have all the artificial intelligence, you can be customer sensitive, but it needs leadership, to just push it forward. So I would prioritize that, yeah, as a very, very important thing.
Thank you, Abhay. I mean, it's been my experience that whenever I have come to you for one, you have always given me 10. So thank you once again. So, anyways, now coming back to Anuj, Anuj, from a technology industry perspective, how do you think this is moving ahead, and what's there, beyond the horizon? I mean, what's something which possibly is not exactly visible to all of us here, but possibly you will have an idea about it, Anuj?
So two very important things which I would like to talk about. First thing is the agility, and second thing is the automation. Now let me try to put a different perspective from the technology point of view. Now agility is a very general word. Like, what do you mean by agility? How fast can I redeploy? Okay, how fast can I make my software portable across multiple hardware, multiple software, multiple cloud? What is the cost of moving from one public cloud to second public cloud today, right? How do I make my application auto scalable? Now let me ask you a simple question. I'll give you a very basic example of one of my customer that in railway, imagine the workload and the concurrent number of connection at 10 a.m. in the morning when the Tatkal opens versus 12 o'clock midnight, right? There is a difference of 1:5,000 times more number of users at 9:59 a.m. in the morning. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you want to deploy so much of compute on day one for the entire 24 hours? No. Ultimately, you would like to repurpose your all the resources so you can take the maximum juice out of it, right? So some of the features from the agility point of view is like, portability, auto scalability, deployment across multiple different hardware, multiple public cloud. So these are the things which makes your application agile. You can take quick decisions, you can repurpose your hardware, you can get the maximum utilization out of your investment which you're putting into public and private cloud. This is something where we come and help with technologies like Kubernetes, OpenShift. There are multiple ways to look at it. Second thing is automation. A very interesting perspective from all the leaders about business automation. One key thing which we are missing here is that the data center and the infrastructure automation, right? But let me ask a question: that how many people do you think these public cloud deploy in their large data center, which I've heard of, having approximately 5 lakh square feet, retail space. Even if you just take a walk around it, right, it's probably going to be a couple of kilometers if you want to walk around racks. How many people they deploy in order to manage it? Ultimately, the answer is zero. They call it lights out data center. If you start walking, only the lights above your particular rack opens up and then it goes down. So how they're able to achieve it? The answer is automation. When you talk about automation, you have to start thinking, how do I automate beyond my business process? How do I start automating my servers, my switches, my storage, my data center, my operating system, my patches, my configuration, my VPN, my SSN, be it all these things which you can think of. Today, there is an answer. All of it can be automated with extremely amazing open source products and solutions called Ansible. Ansible is a way by which you could automate thousands of different kind of hardwares, load balancers, web application firewall. You name it, there is a solution in a technology like automation. So while business automation is extremely important, on the other side, because IT is the one which is the business enabler, right? In order to automate IT, you should be looking at solutions like them. So agility and automation is two of my key takeaway from this session today. Back to you.
Thank you, Anuj. Excellent. So I think what we all understand is that digital disruption is completely rewriting the business rulebook today. And those of us who don't stay ahead will always struggle to catch up with our more agile competition and rivals. New technologies are transforming companies across industries, including BFSI. I strongly feel that the democratization of technology is the key driver for disruption. Cloud and mobile technologies, we have already seen, they have already turned business models upside down and given startups, in fact, the power to disrupt entire industries. And Abhay has already, attuned to that, regardless of their size. But further unprecedented technological change, I feel, is just round the corner. And so this is really early days. Organizations working on legacy infrastructure will struggle to innovate. They will continue to waste unnecessary budget on keeping the aging, applications and platforms running. Not only, I feel, must businesses update their IT infrastructure, they must also develop completely new business models. And something which I read about some time back, look at the triple bottom line. Now, the TBL strategy is a strategic framework which breaks down the measure of business success into three key elements: economic, environmental, and social performance. While money will inevitably always be the driving factor, being social and economic and environmentally responsible is going to be essential to the bottom line for any business in the digital era. And that is something which I think all of us are now agreeing to. What's more, businesses must also transform the entire workplace to create the right working culture and possibly nurture talent by providing employees with the smartest ways of working. I purely feel that the underline here is, to stay ahead, businesses must ensure that they are the disruptor and not the disrupted. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your path-leading views today in this discussion. Hope to hear much more from each one of you as we move forward in each of our digital journey. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your wonderful insights. It was a pleasure to hear these wonderful viewpoints. I would like to ask the speakers to stay back for a while as we will be sharing the token of appreciation. We would like to present the certificates. Mr. Girish Parpillewar, VP and Head Digital Initiatives, SBM Bank India. Thank you so much, sir. Mr.
Thank you.
Ayan
Thank you
De,
for having me.
Chief Technology Officer, Exide Life Insurance. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Abhay Johorey, Head Digital Strategy, ICICI Bank. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. Mr. Sankaranarayanan, Chief Technology and Data Officer, IndiaFirst Life Insurance. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Abhishek Vishwakarma, Director, Business Intelligence and Risk Solutions, CRISIL Limited. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Anuj Mittal, Specialist Sales Leading Emerging Portfolio Enterprises Business, Red Hat India. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Sir.
Have a great day,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.